I was elbow deep in dirty dishes when my boss walked in. "Hey kid, got a new guy starting tomorrow. Try not to scare this one off, all right?" I rolled my eyes. "Yeah, sure. I'll be on my best behavior." The next morning, I barely looked up when the kitchen door swung open. But then this guy walked in, and holy shit, tall, muscular, with these intense dark eyes. My brain short-circuited. Hi. Smooth, real smooth. I couldn't even remember my own damn name. He flashed a smile that made my stomach do backflips. "I'm Zane. Nice to meet you." As we worked, I kept stealing glances, his arms flexing as he scrubbed pots the way his shirt clung to his back. "You missed a spot," Zane said, pointing to a pan I'd been washing for 5 minutes straight. I felt my face go hot, right? This was going to be interesting. 6 months flew by, and Zane and I fell into an easy rhythm. We chat while we worked, cracking jokes to make the time pass. One weekend shift, I was mopping up, ready to head home. Zane stepped out of the bathroom, and my jaw nearly hit the floor. He was shirtless, water droplets trailing down his chest. "Forgot my spare shirt," he said, grinning. I tried to play it cool. "No worries, man. I was just..." As I took a step, my foot hit the wet floor. Next thing I knew, I was falling face first. Shit. Zane lunged to catch me, but he slipped too. We both crashed to the ground, ending up inches apart. Our eyes met, and for a second, everything froze. Then we burst out laughing. "Nice moves," graceful, Zane teased, helping me up. His hand lingered on mine a moment too long. My heart raced. From that day on, something shifted. We started hanging out after work, grabbing beers, hitting up movies. "We're like Harley and Ivy," our coworker joked one day. Zane threw an arm around my shoulders. "Hear that, babe? We're famous." I laughed it off, but inside I was a mess. These feelings for Zane were getting harder to ignore. Zane and I became inseparable. We hit up anime conventions, took road trips, and spent every free moment together. One night, sprawled on my couch after a Marvel marathon, Zane nudged me. "You know, you'd make a great little wife, eh?" I snorted, trying to ignore the flutter in my chest. "Oh yeah, you proposing?" He winked. "Maybe someday, if you play your cards right." I threw a pillow at him, laughing it off. But later, alone in bed, I couldn't stop thinking about it. Weeks passed, and these jokes became more frequent. We'd be grocery shopping, and he'd say, "Grab some of those cookies you like, honorable or at work. How's my better half today?" Each time, I'd play along, telling myself it was just Zane being Zane. But secretly, I was falling hard. One weekend, we decided to hit up an amusement park. As we waited in line for the roller coaster, Zane slipped his hand into mine. "For safety," he said with a grin. I didn't let go even after we got off the ride. Driving home that night, Zane's car got a flat. As we waited for the tow truck, he suggested we watch some anime on his phone. "Scoot closer," he said, patting the back seat. "Can't have my boy getting cold." As we huddled together, the characters on screen confessed their love. I felt Zane's eyes on me. "That could be us, he said softly, all happy and shit." My heart pounded. Was this still a joke? Or was it time to take a leap? "That could be us, Zane had said. My heart was racing. I turned to face him. "I thought you were straight." He shrugged, his eyes never leaving mine. "Since I met you, I don't know anymore." Before I could process that, Zane leaned in and kissed me. His lips were soft, hesitant at first, then more urgent. When we finally broke apart, we were both breathless. "Wow," I whispered. Zane grinned. "Yeah. So what does this mean?" I asked. "It means I love you, dumbass," Zane said, pulling me close. "Have for a while now." I couldn't stop smiling. "I love you too." We spent the rest of the night talking, laughing, and stealing kisses. When the tow truck finally arrived, neither of us wanted the night to end. The next day at work, Zane greeted me with a quick peck on the cheek. "Morning, boyfriend," he whispered. Our coworkers didn't bat an eye. Apparently, we weren't as subtle as we thought. That weekend, we decided to celebrate our new relationship. Zane suggested we try out Vinyl, the local LGBT club. As we walked in hand, the bass thumping and lights flashing, I felt a surge of excitement. This was real. We were real. Zane pulled me onto the dance floor. "Come on, babe. Let's show him how it's done." As we moved together, everything else faded away. It was just us, lost in the music and each other. Later, sweaty and grinning, we stumbled out of the club. Zane pressed me against his car, his eyes dark with desire. "For your place or mine?" he asked. I pulled him in for a kiss. "Doesn't matter, as long as I'm with you." That night at Vinyl was just the beginning. Zane and I couldn't keep our hands off each other. We'd sneak kisses in the kitchen at work, earning eye rolls from our coworkers. "Get a room, you two," they'd tease. One evening, as we cuddled on my couch, Zane turned to me. Hey, remember that drag show at Vinyl? I nodded, smiling at the memory. They're having another competition next week. We should enter. I froze. What? No way. I can't perform in front of people. Zane kissed my forehead. Come on, it'll be fun. I'll be right there with you. Despite my protests, he managed to convince me. The night of the show, I was a bundle of nerves. I can't do this, I whispered as we waited backstage. Zane squeezed my hand. Yes, you can, trust me. The moment we stepped out, the crowd roared. Zane started lip-syncing to Kill the Lights, pulling me close. At first, I was stiff, terrified, but as Zane spun me around, his eyes locked on mine, I forgot about everyone else. We danced and lip-synced our hearts out, lost in our own world. When the song ended, the applause was deafening. We didn't win, but it didn't matter. The rush was incredible. See? Told you it'd be fun, Zane said as we left the club. Still buzzing with adrenaline, I pulled him in for a deep kiss. Take me home, I murmured against his lips. We barely made it through the door before clothes started flying off. That night, we made love with an intensity we'd never experienced before. After we're tangled in sheets in each other, Zane traced patterns on my chest. Move in with me, he said suddenly. I propped myself up on an elbow. Seriously. He nodded. I want to wake up next to you every day. My heart swelled. Yes, I said, kissing him. 1,000 times yes. As we drifted off to sleep, I felt happier than I'd ever been. This was what love was supposed to feel like. Moving in with Zane was like a dream. We'd wake up tangled together, share lazy Sunday mornings, and come home to each other every night. One evening, as we cooked dinner, Zane brought up something we'd been avoiding. I think it's time we tell our parents, he said, stirring the pasta sauce. I nearly dropped the plates I was holding. Are you sure? He nodded. My mom's been asking why I'm so happy lately. I want her to know it's because of you. We decided to tell Zane's mom first. I was a nervous wreck, but she surprised us both. Oh, honey, I've known for months, she said, pulling us both into a hug. I'm just glad you're happy. She even offered to help with rent on a bigger apartment. It felt too good to be true. And it was, because then came the hard part, telling my mom. We invited her over for dinner, planning to break the news, but as soon as we opened the door, I knew something was off. Look who I brought, Mom chirped, gesturing to a pretty girl behind her. This is Alexis. She just moved in next door. My stomach dropped. I recognized that look in my mom's eyes. She was playing matchmaker. Throughout dinner, Mom kept steering the conversation towards Alexis and me, while barely acknowledging Zane. So, Alexis is single, she said, winking at me, and she loves cooking just like you. I could feel Zane tensing beside me. Under the table, I squeezed his hand. Actually, Mom, I started taking a deep breath. There's something we need to tell you. But she cut me off, launching into a story about her church group's stance on those sinful same-sex relationships. The words died in my throat. Zane excused himself, disappearing into our bedroom. As Mom and Alexis left, I felt a pit in my stomach. This was going to be harder than we thought. Later, holding Zane as he silently cried, I realized our perfect bubble had burst. The real world was creeping in, and I wasn't sure we were ready for it. After that disastrous dinner, Mom's attempts to push Alexis on me became relentless. She'd coincidentally invite her to every family gathering, always finding a way to seat us together. Cool buzz in my phone buzzed with a text from Mom. Pool party at the Johnsons bringing Alexis. Be not. I showed Zane the message, sighing. We don't have to go. He shook his head. No, let's face this head on. Together. At the party, Alexis seemed to pop up everywhere we went. When Zane left to grab drinks, she sidled up to me. You know, she purred, leaning in close. You look just like my ex. So cute. I shifted uncomfortably. She continued, her voice dropping lower. I bet you're great in bed. Wanna find out? I nearly choked on my drink. Look, Alexis, I'm flattered, but what? She interrupted. Don't tell me you're into that queer stuff. That's just not natural. Before I could respond, Zane returned. Sensing the tension, he suggested we leave. In the car, I filled him in. His knuckles went white on the steering wheel. This has to stop, he said, his voice tight. We need to tell your mom about us. I nodded, knowing he was right, but fear gnawed at me. So over the next few weeks, Alexis became a constant presence. She'd show up at our apartment unannounced, always with some flimsy excuse. One night, after she'd accidentally spilled wine on Zane's shirt and offered to help him clean up, I snapped. Enough, I shouted. Alexis, I'm gay. I'm with Zane. Please respect that. She stormed out, but the damage was done. Zane was quiet the rest of the night, barely looking at me. As we got ready for bed, he finally spoke. Maybe this is too hard. Maybe we should take a break. My world crumbled. What? No, Zane, please. We can figure this out. He just shook his head, climbing into bed with his back to me. I lay awake all night, wondering how things had gone so wrong so fast. The weeks following Zane's suggestion of a break were hell. At work, he barely spoke to me. At home, he was distant, often staying out late without explanation. One night, I got a text from him. We need to talk. Meet me at Dino's Diner tomorrow at 7. My stomach churned all day. When I arrived at the diner, Zane was already there, staring into his coffee. Hey, I said, sliding into the booth. He didn't look up. Hey. We sat in awkward silence until I couldn't take it anymore. Zane, what's going on? Talk to me, please. He finally met my eyes and I saw pain there. I fucked up. My heart dropped. What do you mean? He took a shaky breath. Remember that party at Alexis's place? I nodded, dread building in my chest. We got separated and I had too much to drink. Alexis found me and we started talking. She said some things about us, about how it wasn't natural, how it was too handsome to be queer. Anger flared in my chest. And you believed her? He shook his head. No, but I was drunk and confused, and then we kissed. The world stopped. You what? It didn't go further than that, I swear, he said quickly. But I've been questioning everything since then. Maybe she's right, maybe this won't work long term. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. So what? You're straight now? Just like that? I don't know what I am, he said softly, but I think we should just be friends. I stood up abruptly, my chair scraping loudly against the floor. Friends? After everything we've been through? Please try to understand. I cut him off. Understand what? That you threw away our relationship over one drunken kiss and some homophobic bullshit? Where I knew what I was doing, my fist connected with his jaw. The diner went silent. Fuck you, Zane, I spat, then turned and ran out, tears blurring my vision. I drove home in a daze, my world shattered. How could he do this? How could he just give up on us? As I curled up on my bed, sobbing, I realized it wasn't just Zane I'd lost. I'd lost my best friend, my partner, my future, and I had no idea how to move forward from here. I spent the next few days in a haze of grief and anger. My phone buzzed constantly with messages from Zane, but I couldn't bring myself to read them. On the third day, my mom showed up and announced. Honey, I heard what happened, she said, pulling me into a hug. I'm so sorry. I stiffened. How did she know? She continued, but maybe it's for the best. Now you can focus on finding a nice girl. Like Alexis, or something in me snapped. I pulled away from her. Mom, did you have something to do with this? She wouldn't meet my eyes. I don't know what you mean. Cut the bullshit, I growled. Did you send Alexis after us on purpose? Her silence was all the confirmation I needed. How could you? I shouted. You knew about me and Zane this whole time? She nodded slowly. I was trying to save you, sweetie. It's not natural what you were doing. I thought if I could just show you how nice it could be with a girl. I cut her off. You destroyed the best relationship I've ever had because of your fucking homophobia. Language, she gasped. I did it because I love you. God would never accept. Get out, I said, my voice cold. Get out of my apartment and my life. She left in tears, but I felt nothing but rage. I grabbed my phone, finally reading Zane's messages. The last one made my blood run cold. I can't do this anymore. I'm moving back home. I'm sorry. I threw my phone against the wall, watching it shatter like my heart. The next day, I packed a bag and checked into a hotel. I couldn't stand to be in that apartment anymore, surrounded by memories of Zane and tainted by my mother's betrayal. As I lay in the unfamiliar bed, I realized I'd lost everything. My boyfriend, my best friend, my family, my home, all because people couldn't accept our love. I cried myself to sleep that night, wondering how I'd ever put the pieces of my life back together. 5 years have passed since that night in the hotel. I moved 5 states away, desperate for a fresh start. But no matter how far I run, the memories follow. I tried dating, but every touch, every kiss, felt hollow compared to what I had with Zane. Eventually, I stopped trying. My phone buzzes, a text from my brother. Mom's asking about you again. You coming home for Christmas this year? I sighed, typing out a quick no. I haven't spoken to her since that day. My brother came out a few years back, and she's trying to make amends, but I can't forget what she did. As I'm about to put my phone away, another text comes through. It's from an old coworker back home. Hey, thought you should know, Zane's not doing great. He's on his second divorce. Heard he's been hitting the bottle pretty hard. My heart clenches. Part of me wants to reach out to see if I can help, but I know I can't. We've both changed too much. I find myself opening my photo gallery, scrolling to a hidden folder I never delete. There we are, young and in love, at that LGBT club. Zane's looking at me like I'm his whole world. For a moment, I let myself remember the feeling of his hand in mine, the sound of his laugh, the way he'd look at me across a crowded room, and suddenly nothing else mattered. I closed the app, wiping away a stray tear. It still hurts, but not as sharply as before. Maybe someday I'll find that kind of love again. Maybe I won't. But I know now that I'm capable of loving that deeply, and that's something no one can take away from me. As I look out my window at the unfamiliar skyline of my new city, I realize something. I'm not just surviving anymore. I'm starting to live again. And wherever life takes me next, I'll face it head on, just like Zane taught me to do. I may have lost my first love, but I found myself in the process. And maybe, just maybe, that's enough.